So let's talk about one of my favorite subjects. You, of course, know precious metals. Remember a while back, as in 2 to 3 years ago, China buys, was it JP Morgan Chase's gold vault, which is, allegedly has this secret tunnel directly to the Federal Reserve underground, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. We all thought that was quite odd, right? Why are you buying this giant gold vault? Of course, it's not odd if you follow my channel or similar channels, because we know why China wants these things. It's to have its gold stored somewhere. And what better place to store it than in countries and whatnot you're doing business with, but you own the property in the vault. Of course, my opinion would be same thing goes for all countries. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. If it's not in your country, you don't own it. But nonetheless, China is buying the gold bullion vaults. So we have this story. China's state-owned ICBC Standard Bank has agreed to buy a massive precious metals storage business from Barclays. How massive? $90 billion gold vault in London. Not million, not 9 billion, 90 billion. Seems like old China's preparing, as I've been saying all these years, to take control of pretty much everything. And that's why they've been stockpiling gold and silver out of control. Because they know what's coming next, and they want their dollar to essentially replace what our dollar has done, which has been the world's reserve currency. Now it's their turn, as far as they're concerned. But they've recognized that the only way to do that is to collect all the gold first. As the old golden rule says, he who owns the gold makes the rules. The golden rule. Silver Doctor says, China on massive gold buying spree from Russia today. The vault, one of the largest in Europe, is in a secret location in London that can store 2,000 tons of gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. It was opened in 2012 by Barclays, which is now exiting the business as part of restructuring. Right. At current prices, about $1,300 an ounce. Not quite, but close, honestly. Up to $90 billion worth of gold could be stored inside the London-based storage. The world's biggest bank by assets, ICBC, will become the first Chinese lender to own a vault in London. And make that also, remember, they also own one in the New York Financial District. The bank intends to expand its role in the business and will gain more influence in trading, pricing, and storage of precious metals. Now let's listen to that again. The bank intends to expand its role in the gold business and will gain more influence in trading, pricing, and storage of precious metals. Pricing, huh? Last week, ICBC became a member of London's precious metals clearing system, where trades are settled. As I've said, they were gearing up long ago. I've mentioned this. I told you they're going to be gearing up to take control from the Western powers. And this story is proving that is exactly what they're doing. My thoughts on this are right. Not that I'm some kind of genius, because plenty of people's thoughts about this are the same. But you can, again, I used to always say, look, let's, if you're a fly on the wall and you're watching China and you're watching Russia, India, silver, gold, if you're a fly on the wall, look what China's doing. And then, they're opening an exchange. It's actually a physical only exchange. You can't buy paper contracts, like the COMEX, where there's nothing backing them. That's interesting. Right? They got their exchange. Now they've got 2 different vaults. One of them the largest in London. This is not by accident. They know exactly what they're doing. They're essentially, the Western powers are essentially handing the torch over to the Eastern powers. Here you go. Except, there's a problem. There's always a problem when it comes to handing over power. Those that have had the power, even though they know their time may be up, do not want to relinquish it. What does that tell me? that tells me that the club is in dire straits. They need a false flag attack on American soil to shut everything down and grasp back at that control. That's what it tells me is needed in this country. I'm a firm believer that is still on the table as happening. That the club will do a false flag attack in America, blame it on terrorists. I'm reading this crap today. Anonymous or hackers have shut down some banking thing. In Europe, little whispers of it. They're saying the hackers are attacking the banks. Right. Sure. But wouldn't it make a great story? These banks are so corrupt. Anonymous has an official message. Due to the corruption of all these banks, we're shutting down, we're causing denial of service attacks across the world, and we're shutting the banking system down. Really, it would be the club. And then you just, it's not Anonymous did this. They're claiming it. Look, there's a video. There's a website that they did it. It's them. It's not us. So again, Chicago, CME Group, Chicago Mercantile Exchange. It's a big city. As soon as we let those refugees into America, we let 30,000 or I don't even remember the number, 10,000 I think. I was saying it then. Pay attention to Chicago and Pennsylvania, according to the hacker named Guccifer. Both of those cities, he said one or the other was going to be attacked by the club, blamed on the enemy, terrorists, whatever. It'd be a false flag attack. He said it would be in Chicago or Pennsylvania. But I saw this happening, and I said, watch. They're in Louisiana. They're going to go straight up to Chicago. Pay attention. No sooner than like 2 days, 3 days later, max. I'm out here doing another video. Hey, guess what I just heard today? Look at this news story. The Chicago Police Department were trying to find a white van. According to eyewitnesses, came up and two Middle Eastern men yelled out, "We are ISIS and we are here to kill you." And the van sped off, and police couldn't catch up and get them. Right. Sure. Where did that happen? You guessed it, Chicago. So that's why Chicago has been on my radar. I don't think there's a chance in hell they're just going to relinquish everything to China. Here you go, China. Have a nice day. We had the torch. While we had it, it was great. Good luck. Have a nice day. No. It's going to appear to go that way, which it is right now, that we're doing this and we're willingly handing it off to China. But I don't think that's the way the club works. No, the club wants to gain back that control in a hurry. So they need an attack on American soil that will have to be bigger than 9/11. Because 9/11 now ain't going to be big enough if another one would happen. We already saw what happened with that. American people ain't going to go for that. It's got to be a lot bigger. So on a side note, which actually, there's only one little piece here. China is the world's largest consumer of gold. According to Wells Fargo, the country now consumes about 40% of the gold mined around the world annually. Here I'm thinking of the United States using 25% of the world's output energy for our little few percent of the worldwide population. Imagine consuming 40% of the world's gold as one nation. Now, granted, this ain't no little United States with 300 million plus people. It's China with 1.3 or whatever the hell they're at now. 4 billion. So a little different, but still, 40% of the entire world's gold is going over there. Chinese imports of the yellow metal have surged over 700% since only 2010. 5.5 years ago. It surged 7 times what it was, 700%. Gold has been traded in London for over 300 years. About $5 trillion in transactions were handled in London's bullion market in 2015. Notice how it said about $5 trillion in transactions. Paper, left hand sells to the right hand sells back to the left hand, that's kind of like, let's say you have a job. You're in a security firm, right? You work for a little security company, and the county has hired you to do park checks and school checks. And you just drive around in your little security car, and every time you go into a park and just kind of look around, make sure everything's cool, you put a little check, little tally point, school check, tally point, park check, tally point, and that's all you do. Would it be fair if you took that car, drove into the park check, turn around, went across the street, turn right back around, park check, turn around, out of the street, back in it, park check, back out, back in, park check. Man, how'd you get so many park checks and school checks today, man? There's not even enough in the county to tally that much. I mean, how did you do that? Your numbers are off the chain, man. You're bad. You are a bad dude. Man, how'd you do that? Teach us. We want to up our stats. Well, I'm not really going all over. I'm just go in and back out of the park. Check, step out, step back in, check, step out, step back in, check. That's the equivalent. 5 trillion in transactions. 5 trillion of left hand sells to the right hand. Right hand sells back to that's 2 transactions. Left hand sells to the right hand, another transaction. Right hand sells back to another transaction. So again, it'd be the equivalent of me. Let's say this is worth exactly $20 today. Okay, $20. Transaction 1, $20. Transaction 2, $40. Transaction 3, $60. $80, $100. And I just keep doing this all day long so I can write down on paper, man, Jason 4 pulled out a $2,000 worth of transactions today. So you would think I had, 100 ounces of silver sold or so. Nope, just one coin, folks. Watch the magic. Left, right, left, right. That's how that works. So another interesting thing here. This is from Zero Hedge. Texas begins construction of gold depository? What? Last year, we covered a story coming out of Texas in which the state government was planning to institute a state-controlled gold depository that would allow individuals to store their gold in a presumably safe place outside the United States banking system. This proposition was met with emotionally charged denunciations from Americans in faraway northeastern American states, where it was claimed this measure was contrary to the Supremacy Clause and just a terrible idea in general because it undermined faith in the U.S.'s central government and Federal Reserve System. Well, in spite of the disapproval of New Yorkers, the Texas legislature passed the bill and the governor signed it into law last June. And with the passage of this bill, they said the Texas Bullion Depository will become the first state-level facility of its kind in the nation, increasing the security and stability of our gold reserves and keeping taxpayer funds from leaving Texas to pay for fees to store gold in facilities outside our state. The depository won't just store state gold and other precious metals. The law requires that individual consumers or customers and even school districts be allowed to open accounts. Capri-Leon has described it as a bank that doesn't do any lending. You just store your wealth here, and if the price of gold goes up and your school system was using that as a pension storehouse, if you will, and gold starts going up, oh my gosh. What's that about the pensions being in the red and unfunded liability? How about superfunded non-liability, superfunded asset all of a sudden, just from the price of gold rising? Now, granted, if I have a choice, I'm not storing my gold anywhere but in my own possession, in a safe somewhere that I have complete access to, not as in access, I'm going to go to this depository system and access it. No, I mean like I physically own it and I put it somewhere and I'll go there and get it whenever I need it. But a school system can't do that, right? Government agency of that kind can't do that. Larger entities, companies can't really do that. So something like this is secure. The best part about this is it doesn't do any lending. We are just going to store your metal here, and that's it. Hopefully, it stays that way and doesn't become what some of these bullion banks do. We will store your metal here, too. Matter of fact, here's a special key. Allocated account for you, sir. Have a nice day. Your gold will be there until you come back. And then they come back. That's not my gold bar. Matter of fact, I've got serial numbers. And that serial number does not match the bar that I put in here. Thank God there's a bar in here of the same weight, but I thought you said it was allocated. Well, yeah, we're not sure. And what were they doing? lending it out at huge interest to the club to put out these little fires in the COMEX and whatnot, and then put it back in the, stealth of night. Hopefully this company, this gold depository, isn't that. Because it's not a bullion bank, it's a gold depository. So hopefully this is just a great thing that comes up, works as intended, your money, your gold, etc. is safe in this thing. No shenanigans, it's all good, that sort of thing. One can only hope. But if Texas is the first to do it, who's going to be next? And then who's going to be next after that, right? There is a trend. And as Gerald Celente says, current events form future trends. So these are current events, and I'd even argue to say this is a trend now. But if you just say, well, it's not a trend yet, fine. But it is a current event, and there are more of these events. Again, China just bought another huge vault. These are events leading to a trend. And the trend is going to be precious metals. And if you ain't got them, when all this is done and over with, you're not going to want to go get them because the price is going to be too high. Take care.